I've been doing lectures now for the past 14 years. I started in June of '92. Actually, I started doing the LA riots. It's taken me all over the country several times. There's black people every place but Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Now, I can understand it's Mississippi and Alabama. I figure, you know, Louisiana, the birthplace of such spiritual essence from music, spirituality, and even cuisine, all done by black people, that I figured I should get here at least now. And I think it's perfect though, because you know, after Katrina hit, you see what I'm saying? And all of a sudden now, for 14 years I couldn't get here, and after Katrina hit, bam, I'm here. So I think everything is spiritual. I think everything is right on time. You know, I want to give a shout out to the sister that brought me, Sister Angela.
She's on the way.
She's on the way, yeah, and her family members and everybody that's a part of this conscious community. And also I want to give a shout out to Power People Production, the sister Sonura, which was one of the ones who's instrumental in a lot of people knowing about me, because she's the one that supplied the tapes. From Sister Sonura from Indianapolis, Indiana, that's also here, and this is her hometown that she was born in. So that's very special also that she migrated here to this weekend. But she's the one that actually supplied a lot of the tapes. Now she has some of those tapes here too, by the way, that made it possible. A lot of people to view me in this area. And met Sister Angela with last year before last, 2 years ago, and made this connection. And so I've been lecturing with her, coming to Indianapolis for the past, what, 45 years now? 5 years now, and did a lot of work together down there. And so I want to give a shout out to, you know, certain people that made this possible. And also to say that I'm really glad to be in Louisiana, because you got to understand one thing. When, and it must be known that the whole thing that went down in New Orleans was a target, but that's the entire Louisiana thing. Yeah. Although New Orleans might have been the hub that they want to focus on, that was a target, because whether we like it or not, Katrina passed over New Orleans in a particular aspect that New Orleans weathered the storm. We'll give a bit of a history on the other side, because there's always two things that's going on concurrently. There's some things that's going on politically, and there's some things that's going on spiritually. Now, the people at the top of the hierarchy, we'll be talking about the global elite. People at the top of the hierarchy, it is their business to try to understand what is going on spiritually and try to counter that. Because whether we like it or not, everyone knows, as far as the global elite, when we talk about the ruling powers. When I say the ruling powers, I'm not talking about a Bush, because a George Bush is a person. His job is about as much as important as a person working at Church's Chicken or Popeye's Chicken. He has the boss in the hierarchy, and he has to get his orders from a hierarchy. And he's much more scared of that hierarchy than he is you. So and that's a form of the decoy. It's a whole African trick. Dr. John Henry Clark even talked about it, that in the system of any kind of kingship, there might be 12 decoys before you even get to the real chief or the real king. You understand where I'm coming from? So it's the same thing that they follow our system. So you'll get a decoy, and it's key. There's a book called, what's the name of this book? It's a book on how to rule the people. About Illuminati. I'll come up with it in a few minutes. Science or something. Anyway, their ability to rule is to rule anonymously. Their ability to rule is to remain unseen, the unseen hand. And you must understand the trick. If I give you a monarchy and a kingship, you might get jealous of that. Because over centuries, because our kingship is based on divine kingship. We look at that person as a possibility of a divine order, you see what I'm saying, of the manifestation of the higher being, the higher gods and goddesses. I want to put that. You see what I'm saying? Because right now there's a certain energy that's permeating, and you going he. You understand what I'm saying? You missing half the energy. Because the Africans are the ancient indigenous people around the world, no one dealt with a single masculine deity. In this government, you better make it be shown, but let it be known. This government knows one thing. You say, well, I'm lining up behind God and He's going to have my back. Yes, you might as well go ahead and kill him. Because he don't know science. You see, that's why they still have a Queen of England. That's why the papacy of the Pope bows down to a black Madonna and child. You see what I'm saying? So you can't go by based on what you feel it was good enough for your parents. We're talking about a ladder. And you're supposed to be of a higher part of that ladder than your parents at the turn of the century, turn of the last century. You understand what I'm saying? So you're supposed to think different. Now going back to this global elite, it's a hierarchy, and you focusing on Bush is a decoy. And you never get what's going on. It's just like the brother was upset about the people, and they wrote the little thing with the little list yesterday. What was the little thing they wrote and put in the paper? And what you don't realize is this. You're burning up the energies. Who would ever say that you were supposed to be looking at a political system as something being viable to your liberation in the first place? It was put here by the same demons, you understand what I'm saying, that captivated you and put you in bondage. So why are you thinking that something that's going to be the end all and be all? Because you programmed to think a certain way, and that's what we have to do. We have to stop being programmed and thinking a certain way. You must challenge everything, including God itself. You must challenge that too, because in challenging that, you synthesize that particular information, and then you find out the greater information of spirituality on what that God and goddess might be. You see what I'm saying? Might be. So in so many words, now going back to this hierarchy, one thing is sure about them. They look, the global intelligence, the global elite, they might call themselves, there's hundreds of names, Illuminati, New World Order, Tavistock, Council on Foreign Relations. There's so many of these, you know, all these genres, there's several societies. And the societies that you have, that they say, Illuminati in them, whenever they give you those societies, those are decoy societies. They already named something else. By the time those societies get to you, you never really know what they're up under at this particular time. It might be the McDonald's Society, the Burger King Society, something that houses something that you might never know where the people are. You understand where I'm coming from here? So now, in dealing with that, you must understand at this particular time, there's one thing, and it's sure about this. The first thing they look at in ruling you, and when they understand where you are, is they look and say, how are they spiritually? I'm not talking about religious. Religion and spirituality is two different things. Religion has very little to do with spirituality. Religion is a particular political ceremony with all types of customs, and it is a simulation of something that might be spiritual. But it's basically political, mostly moralistic, and a behavioral program that most African societies and indigenous societies around the world, you knew how to behave. You see what I'm saying? At age 8 or 9. So you didn't have to spend the rest of your life trying to learn how to behave based on a book telling you don't do this and don't do that. You understand what I'm saying? It was a part of your rites of passage. It was a part of your culture. Now we understand that around 2,000 years ago, close to 2,000 or 1,000 years ago, sometime around the time of the coming of the Old Testament, because you got three babies, they're all the same thing. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. The Father, the Son, and the grandson. Those religions were needed as a moral code because the people that was going to rule the future was going to be a people that didn't have rites of passage, that came out of the caves, a barbarian. So therefore they needed a book to learn how to behave. So they had to impose behavior and psychology within the religious scripture. But that's not necessarily for you. You understand what I'm saying? Well, it might be for this generation in the last 20-something years, because we have lost all of the behavioral modification and the the things that our people, our grandparents and our parents were the masters of common sense. And we have rules and regulations now. You see what I'm saying? And I can just go into a checkout line and just see a person's temperament when I'm getting something from the grocery store and looking at this person and saying, this person has no concept of manners whatsoever. So we know that that path is broken down within the last, at least the last 15, 16, 17, 18 years. You see what I'm saying? So yes, we can say we need a moral code for that, but not necessarily as an aspect of your spirituality, because most things that are spiritual, the church is against. And major organized religions, most things that are spiritual, they are against. You see what I'm saying? And I say that because I'm talking about the people who put these things together. When we say the church, we're talking about people who convene in the Conference of Nicaea, one of 8 conferences, to basically homogenize and pasteurize spirituality out of what they would call religious dogma that would say this is to rule the people. You see what I'm saying? This is to rule the people. So, in looking at that and looking at the people who rule us, they're clear about one thing. You can dance and sing all you want in the church. You can do all the stuff that is good behavior that you learn in vacation Bible school or whatever. But as far as the people are looking at you, they're saying, do they know their ancient science? That's the only thing we're concerned about. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, the people that rule your lives and how you get on top of ruling your life is to understand what is your science. When I say your science, I'm talking about what is your spirituality. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not necessarily saying that Christianity, Judaism, and Islam don't have the motifs of it's a form of assimilation. You understand what I'm saying? But you have to reprogram that and try to find out what was your concept about those same things that they later on homogenized and gave back to you. You understand what I'm saying? The motifs are there, so you don't have to abandon things because you need all of this stuff. See what I'm saying? The modern world is in fragments, which means if you say I'm going to be only ancient Egypt, and we know that we got fragments from around the world that's been scattered all over the planet. So what little piece you are looking at that you call ancient Egypt, ancient Samaria, all that black people stuff, you're only looking at a fragment. Now the white boy does it like this. They say, look, we are not the authors of none of this history. And while you are arguing on whether you Yoruba, or whether you are Voodoo, or whether you are Christianity, whether you ancient Hebrew, they say, look, we're not arguing any of this history, so therefore we'll study it all. And then we'll put the keys together. And that's what you have to do at this particular time. You got to become multifaceted. You have to become multifaceted. We're going to get into some of this advanced information. You see what I'm saying? And the information on how a lot of these things work. We'll go into a lot of motifs and a lot of signs and symbols dealing with the melanin, dealing with the inner constitution of our own divine self, and dealing with John 10, verse 34, 36. Is it not written in the law that ye are gods, for whom the scriptures cannot be broken? And Jesus to come is in all of us. That's the code. Because if you're thinking about some person running around 2,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago, you don't get it. If you're thinking of that, don't understand that the motif is that it's not, the whole concept here is in your own DNA, and you don't get it. And that's what he's concerned about. That's what they're concerned about. You see, not how you feel, not how you dress, and not how you behave. You see, they're concerned about how much do you know your ancient science, because when they go to those lodges, you understand what I'm saying? They're not saying no spirituals, no Negro spirituals. Or they're not doing the stuff that you think they do. You see what I'm saying? There's a book called Theosophia. It's a book on what the Vatican and what the Pope and them really worships. came out on Theosophia by Arthur versus Lewis. And it's basically what they deal with in their particular, and what the Pope and all the stuff they got you in Catholicism, and they got you in different aspects, and you still talking about he. And what they deal with in their particular doctrine is all the divine feminine. They don't, I'm saying, you got to understand the difference now. They give the masses the simulation. You see, you get one story, that story has divine and coincides with the same story. You see what I'm saying? That all of Christendom has. You see what I'm saying? But the hierarchy, the priest learned more and knew more than the layman. You understand what I'm saying? So, you don't think that they worship that foolishness that they give you, have you all teary-eyed. You understand what I'm saying? Obviously, these people have enough stuff in the bottom of the Vatican that can reach. How many miles this stuff can go? They say this thing can go for miles and miles, all the artifacts and stuff that they deal with. And you got to be insane to think that your Mount Grove Baptist Church, you see what I'm saying? But you in there with some tambourines and stuff like that, and some teary-eyed stuff, you sing a few songs, that's got anything to do with the people that rule your life. You must understand that. You see what I'm saying? You were in 2006. You went into the millennium. You can't be dealing with the same thing that your people were dealing with, eating a bag of damn skins. You see what I'm saying? You see, 50, 60 years ago. Now that was good for them, but you got to become beyond that. And so the government is like, have the people gotten past this stuff? Do these people know anything yet? You see what I'm saying? Do these people actually think that the world and what we say out of our mouths to make you feel good is actually what is reality? You understand where I'm coming from here? So we must go beyond that and permeate beyond that. Okay, brother said something the other day. He said that he was from the South. I guess you could consider this the South. He said, but then when he went to the North, it's a whole other mannerism, whole other temperament, and a whole other system. And although he was appalled when the guy, he said, was standing in the line, the guy asked the guy for the pen, and he didn't give him the pen, told him no. And he said he was a little upset about that until he realized that he had the right to tell this guy no, because he might have been isolated where he was in the South, where there are certain manners that you have. You understand what I'm saying? But then again, on the other hand, there's a bigger world out here that might not be the reality in another part of the country, especially the other part of the globe. You understand where I'm coming from here? So we must get out of this particular construct that Shreveport, Louisiana is the only reality that there is, and we are thinking in that particular, thinking that way, and thinking that the people in D.C. or the people in Paris are thinking on those lines, are the people that rule you and rule your lives. You understand what I'm saying? We must challenge this particular, so in that particular case, we also got, so in order to say that, because he made this statement, and he was honest about it, he said, Jesus talks to him every day. You see what I'm saying? Now that is the construct on what he has been taught to believe, you see what I'm saying, from his humble beginnings or wherever he's from. And it's not necessarily saying that there is no validity in that, but there's a whole other scientific program on what actually occurs, and he has to understand the other scientific concept, other than just thinking it's a person in the Middle East. Yeah. That actually, you see what I'm saying? It's the same concept of, I walk over an anthill, and there's 1,000 ants down there. And the ant said, well, that's Bobby Hemmitt up there. And he made it possible for me to wake up in the morning. And we pray to him, and he answers my prayers. Now, to that ant, that might be his reality. But to me, looking at the anthill, it's just a bunch of round specks running around. I don't know a damn thing on what they're doing. It's the same concept of God. Unless the ant understand that I'm a part of the force that they call it on Star Wars. And the only way I'm going to tap into that God is to understand that I am that I am. I am that God. Then it binds together. Now we say this. Okay, so you know God is the ocean. You see, that's the ocean out there. It's vast. If I take a cup and dip out of the ocean, is not the content in the cup the same as the content in the ocean? It is the same. Well, the essence of the God that we talk about, that's in the vast, you understand what I'm saying? The same concept of that is the same energy that's on the inside of you. As a matter of fact, the energy on the inside of you is more powerful than that in that universe. You want to know why? Because that in the universe is just a vast form of energy with no expression. It gave birth. It has no expression. The filtering of the fountainhead of that vastness is in you. So let's put it over. You see, my point here is we have to be on that particular level of the science. We're going to deal with what you think is, you know, because what you think the power elite is interested in as far as spirit in you. Because if you say, well, I got a PhD, a master's degree, BS degree, whatever, well, he gave you those things. And when he gave you those things, it was a science agreed upon that they're going to give you a simulation of the education. Real education is not allowed. Only training.
That's what I'm talking about.
See what I'm saying? I went to college for 8 years and they couldn't teach me how to get out that front damn door. See what I'm saying? Real education is not allowed based on that system. The only true education is self-knowledge, self-education. The only way you can educate yourself. See what I'm saying? Now I went to the AU Center down in Atlanta, Georgia. They got Morehouse, Spelman, Clark Atlanta, Lawrence Brown, and ITC. That's the preacher's thing. The preacher's seminary. And they got one library that everybody uses with no books in it. And John Henry Clark donated his collection in I think in 91. So thanks to that, they got a John Henry Clark collection. But other than that, they didn't have no books in this thing. Now that's 5 universities with one library, and Emory University in Atlanta, one university got 5 libraries. You see what I'm saying? So my point here is, but they give you a syllabus and say, you know, time is money. You got to complete these courses in the 4 years, so you don't have time to go in and study all your stuff. You got time. You got to deal with them sorry majors that they give you. You see what I'm saying? My point here is, you cannot say that you are superior based on something that another person gave you. And the person that gave you this gave you a simulation of knowledge. First thing they did is when they culminated this stuff in Spain. Out of the 16 universities across Europe, it was more than that. Because they were there for 700 years when the Moors ruled Spain. The first thing they did is when they put their education together, based on some stuff out of the Library of Alexandria called Hermeticus, Corpus Hermeticus, which is the basis of the Hermetic knowledge. This is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to split this thing in half. We're going to give you the basic several liberal arts, which is going to be a simulation of greater laws that we got out of ancient Egypt, ancient India. You see, ancient Australia, ancient Tibet. These greater laws we're going to put in the large. You understand what I'm saying? And the other stuff is going to be a training for civilization. Whose civilization? When I went to Clark College at the time, I had a big thing say Clark College, culture for service. Whose culture are you getting in for who you going to serve? Who you going to serve? You see what I'm saying? So, we're saying that what you call education is a simulation, and it's not an education, it might make you feel good, but it's a training. Otherwise, you wouldn't be, if you had a true education, you wouldn't be up in here tonight. You see what I'm saying? Trying to learn something from a nigga from South Carolina. I'm from mass transit. I don't even have a goddamn automobile. You see what I'm saying? That's by choice.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? The more you delete certain things out of your life, I know some of us, we can't do that. You gotta get to work and it might be too far. I'm just saying. The point I'm trying to make here is we must unravel and undo all different aspects. And the heart of the things that the people are concerned about, because it's a broken record. You know, so you're thinking, and believe me, this is the first thing, this is one of the keys right here, to let you go. If it makes common sense, if it's logical, if it's rational, if it's analytical, it probably ain't the shit you need to be dealing with. You need to go beyond that. You need to challenge your brain and say, no, I am not going to accept what makes sense to me. Because my condition says, goddamn, that ain't enough. You see what I'm saying? If my condition or my people's condition is wretched, then I must challenge even what I think is good common sense and go the other way. You see what I'm saying? There might be something in the fairy tales and in the insane.
That's right.
The insane might be the profane. And based on the way things are, what is sane is dead, dormant. You see what I'm saying? And asleep. It might be in the insanity. And what is insanity? Or what is crazy? Just stuff that you don't know. 90% of what you don't know, when you hear it for the first time, you say, that nigga's crazy. You see? Even in your Bible, it says, I am a God of the living, but not the dead. That's an inferior God. Because everybody gonna die. He said, wait a minute, hold on, that got past me. It says, I am a God of the living, but not the dead. Wait a minute, I've been waiting to go to heaven, which I gotta die to go to heaven, and you saying you ain't there? This is what it says in the Bible. Also says in the Bible, this heaven and this hell will pass away. So you mean to tell me heaven ain't gonna be there when I get there, and I'm scared of hell and ain't gonna be there either? And why is one of the texts in the conference of Nicaea that they took out of the Bible? This guy is standing to Jesus. You want to call him Jesus, or you want to call him Horace, or whatever. You got multiple names. You see what I'm saying? It's not one corner to mark it on one damn name. Why is it the entity of the Christ? Because he got several names. Hercules is a Christ figure. Jason, Hercules, Mithra, you name it, it's all the same thing. And it's one ain't got one over the other. Except the one that's claiming that it is the only one there is. And that's a trick. That's a Roman trick. The corner marking on the Christ that everybody had. Why did nobody else in the ancient world believe that shit but the Romans? The Jews didn't believe it. The Egyptians didn't believe it. The Greeks didn't believe it. You understand what I'm saying? They had to kill half the Romans to believe it. See what I'm saying? The Arabs didn't believe it. You see what I'm saying? The point I'm trying to make here is, I forgot what I was saying, about the living. And it talks about, I'm the God of the living and not the dead. This heaven and hell will pass away. What they're talking about here is the particular concepts. You see, that we know things, your reality might be something greater. And this is what I was getting ready to say. I had to talk myself till I got back on the point. In one of these texts, these ancient texts, he talked on the History Channel, banned books of the Bible. And one of the texts they had to take out of the conference, that I had to take out of the Bible, is one where Jesus is standing on the hill with a person, and they got all these people going into the heaven realm, and they got all these people going in hell. And the other person look at Jesus like, saying to him, I'm not buying this bullshit, because I know some of these people. He said, why are these people that going to hell? Yes, that's horrible. Why they got to suffer like that? And Jesus turned and said, shh, they're going to heaven too. You've been scared all this time. And it's right there in one of the texts that they had to take out of the because they said, well, I can understand that. If you want to get a religion going, tell people that you better behave so you don't go to hell, I believe that's one of the texts you got to take out with Jesus going, shh. They go to heaven too.
Yeah, exactly.
In one of the texts. You see what I'm saying? That they had to take out of the conference of Nicaea. The reality of it all and stuff, and what we're going to go into today here is, and I know this is challenging, but in spirituality, what you have done as humans, and what you think that's spiritual, or what you think is so grotesque that you're going to be punished for it don't even exist. As a matter of fact, the whole concept of your soul rising to a whole other level ain't got nothing to do with your behavior. Nothing whatsoever. And this is what the people that rule you know. And that's why they can rule you and kill you up. You see what I'm saying? And they murder you every day, and their children live good. Yeah. Nothing bad can come in. Number one, because they know the laws. They hold the laws. That's what we're going to deal with. You see what I'm saying? You see, the point I'm trying to make is we're talking about energy. We're going to get into this melanin aspect, but it has nothing to do with your behavior. You see? Because we have to get out of the concept of judging people. The Muslim used to say that Allah is the best knower. Well, that's a good concept. It means that how you going to judge somebody on what you absolutely think a person going to go to hell for, and you don't even know the concept of what is ultimately spiritual to say that. They got a good movie out of it, it's still in the movie. It's called Welcome to Silent Hill. It's a movie about a woman and her daughter that goes to the underworld or goes to hell. And they have to go several levels until they get to the lowest level of hell. And when they get to the lowest level of hell, hell is occupied mainly by Christians.
Like right there.
And they in hell teaching fire and brimstone, and you go into hell. And they was already dead, didn't even know they was in hell. And 90% of the reason why they was in hell because they was judging. And they had a modern group of people burning people at the stake. You tell them, and they burn them at the stake. And burnt down the damn town. And everybody in the town got killed. Including the Christians who burnt the people down. So as a result, they was all in this hell realm. And the Christians were still going on, we're trying to hunt down people and burn them at the stake. With the church going on. And didn't even know they was in hell. You see, because of judging. You see, because of judging. I just want to know. It's like Professor John Henry Clark said. And if half of human history was over before we even had what is called these three major world religions, then my point is we got to ask ourselves, what was human history about if half of it was over before we even had these three major world religions? What did they deal with? Like the guy T.W. Doon in his book, Parallel Myths, the Bible myths and their parallels. And in there he talked about how he went around the world with his red coat on, Christian soldiers, the God's army, to give the Bible to the heathens. And yet when he got there, the heathens lived a more harmonious lifestyle with nature, with themselves, with the rites of passage, with their whole culture, than him in his particular red coat. Because they were nothing but savages in a red coat, using it to conquer people and take their land. See what I'm saying? So it's just your perspective on these things. So let's go on. We got a lot to cover. We're going to deal with this Katrina thing first and show you what's going on behind that. You see what I'm saying? And what was needed, and different aspects of what the powers would be. Why after Katrina weathered the storm, New Orleans weathered the storm, they're going to explode the ledges and do that whole fiasco. You see what I'm saying? And it's for several reasons. Number one, we'll go into that in a few minutes. Maybe pour some libations. Let's see what this is. This is Kentucky whiskey.